streaming this live on YouTube. So just search for us on YouTube at Smooth 981. So let's get into the conversation. I want us to kick off with the news about power. Transcorp to add 240 megawatts to the national grid. What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, interesting. It's good. Before now, every Nigerian is always interested in having more power, more electricity. Unfortunately, even with improved capacity, generating capacity, and distributing capacity, unfortunately, we've not been able to get to that level that we want. And many of them, they're not far-fetched. The fact that most of our machines, tools, our equipment are worn out, many of them lack of adequate maintenance, and most importantly, the fact that we do not have sufficient gas to power some of this. This time I was at the last check with gas accounts for over 80% of the electricity generation in Nigeria. And because we do not have that as much, eventually it just happens that most of this equipment, this upgrading that we keep doing, because based on at least some of the announcements, even made by Transcorp themselves, they have improved generation capacity over the years, but we are not seeing that play out for an average Nigerian. Right now is suffering from power supply, exacerbated by the whole fuel price hikes and whatnot. So power is really a problem. Upgrading, yes, a good thing, but then other shocks that are affecting power generation in Nigeria, most of which is gas, and then inadequate maintenance of the equipment. Those are major bins that I would think that we should try and tackle.
Why do we keep having these gas shortages in Nigeria, though?
That's a quite unfortunate situation. Nigeria, as we know, is one of the countries with the highest gas reserves in the world, I think 9th, and the highest in Africa. But quite unfortunate, the gas industry is just quite porous, lacks investment. Gencos do not, they keep owing gas suppliers, and because of that, gas suppliers, for some reason, do not also deliver gas to the Gencos. I think about 2 weeks ago, there was a news on the internet that Gencos were only able to get 30% of their required gas supply to generate electricity. That's quite unfortunate. I think that's obvious because Nigerians are really feeling the brunt of that without light. So yeah, for me, aside from the obvious fact of vandalism and a host of others, the fact that we do not have as much investment in this gas industry in order to tap our reserves that we do obviously have, and the fact that Gencos somehow do not get as much from distributing companies in order to fund their debt to suppliers, that is also playing a major part in gas insufficiency.
What do you make of the company that's building its own clean room to maintain the gas turbines within the country instead of flying them overseas?
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's good because, of course, they are going to save a lot of things. You go first off, forex, which we do not have as much in Nigeria. Anything that would require traveling abroad to do is going to require some form of foreign exchange. And at the best of our knowledge, in recent years, the CBN and Nigeria as a whole has been trying as much as possible to localize most of those things that would otherwise take us traveling out. It's going to cost them, it's going to save them FX expenses, it's going to save them traveling costs, labor costs, logistic costs, even time, the time that it's going to take them to move it from here abroad. And they have to also work in line with the time of their expertise over there. At the end of the day, I think it's a win-win for the company and also a win for Nigeria because you don't have to spend what we do not really have so much of.
Let's move on to a slightly different area, talking about the Naira notes extension and the reps rejecting this 10-day extension, asking the CBN to comply with the law. What do you think of the extension? Do you think that the 10th of February will make much of a difference?
To be honest, I do not think so. As a matter of fact, I do not see reason why we extended it in the first place. because the policy was designed to achieve something. The more you are you're extending it, you're just postponing what we might call doomsday in court. The idea is that you want to reduce the amount of higher denominations in circulation. And by my own calculation, I believe the CBN intentionally did not print as much notes out there. So it's not a direct replacement of what we have in circulation right now. So there is bound to be scarcity. Of course, some people might be hoarding it. Some people might have found it, somehow it might have found its way to the houses of politicians, but it is not a direct replacement. So because of that, there's going to be scarcity. Nigerians have painstakingly during the weekend tried to deposit as much as they have in their banks. And now extending it by 10 days means they have to repeat that process because banks do not have new notes to give people now. They still have to give out old notes. Nigerians will still have to go and withdraw old notes. It means when it comes 9th, 10th, they will go back to the banks and have a long queue. They have to deposit that same old notes which they painstakingly withdrew from banks. So we are just stressing ourselves. We could have just solved our problem and ended it today. And today we'll be fine. Then tomorrow, everyone starts adopting any other form of payment that does not require cash. For me as a person, I literally don't pay anything by cash anymore.
Samuel, I want to ask about this though. What's your opinion on the position of the House of Reps with regards to this situation?
So I'm going to take it from two sides. One is that the fact that Nigerians are feeling pain right now because of they don't have access to as much cash, and Nigerians, we like cash. And so we could say that the House of Rep or the House of Assembly, being the fact that they represent the masses, are trying to fight for the masses, indeed, and using the law in this case. But do not forget, the CBN is independent in its act. And in as much as the enactment that created the CBN says they have permission by the president to go ahead, you can go ahead. And in this case, based on comments of the CBN government on Sunday, says he just finished a meeting with the CBN, with the president, and has been given the go ahead to extend by 10 days. I do not really see a reason why the reps are really forcing about this, because it gives us the impression that they have some other thing that they are trying to defend. Well, who knows what that will be? I do not know.
Okay. Now, you spoke about how the 10 days might impact regular folk like you and I, but what about people who may have had plans to indulge in vote buying, electioneering? Will they possibly benefit from this extension?
Yeah, well, it increases the window for them, but I do not really see that having so much. So the reason why I think anyone would want them to extend it so much is because you can now spread the money deposited in the bank in such a way that you do not really it does not flag you by either from the CBN, the EFCC, or ICPC or whatnot. That's one. And again, the money is still legal by the time the election is holding, and you can actually still give people and it's still value. Unfortunately, it is not going to have value. So it's either you pay it within now and 10th of February in your bank account, which of course would call on the signal of some form of regulators or some watchdog. And of course, nobody wants that. So to be honest, I think it's going to have significant impact on them because they have two options. Is either you keep it at home and just let it get go into extinction, or you deposit in your bank and then I don't know, EFCC knocks your door.
I've got some messages coming through on WhatsApp. This one is from Benga, and he says, so if I want to buy groundnuts by the roadside, I'll use a transfer. Not all of us are fortunate to not pay for anything in cash. And he also said, politicians have been collecting bank account numbers of voters so they can transfer money to them. Politicians are adaptable. But that's a good thing. If they want to buy votes, it can be traced now, can't it?
Exactly.
So that's a positive.
That's a good one. If they want to pay using, I don't think they want to do that.
They're probably smarter than
politicians don't want to leave digital footprint. They don't want to do that. And but the person that says that they cannot pay by cash, I can tell you for free. I bought pepper yesterday. I bought meat and I transferred to them. If you do not have a bank account, I'm sorry, I'll probably go to the next person because.
Okay. And speaking about e-payments, what about the network that is supposed to support these electronic payments? How much of an improvement needs to actually happen? Because there have been so many situations where people want to use cards, POS isn't working, they want to do a transfer, it's just not working, and people might be left stranded.
Unfortunately, that's one of the situations that Nigeria is facing, and it could have been one of the things that the CBN could have addressed before coming up with this policy to force people to go into some form of digital or mobile banking. Our infrastructures are not really good in banking system, and a lot of Nigerians still have their money being held. But it's a reality that we might walk through and grow with, because right now we're probably left with little options but to actually use it. I also believe that even when your money do at some point hang or you're debited, whereas it's not it's declined but debited, you can always walk up to the bank, or I think they have many other forms of social media where, I don't know, agents that you could talk to help you trigger a reversal on your money. Yes, that could be long, that could affect some of your daily activities, but I think we could grow while using it, because right now we seem to not have as much choice anymore.
So you have to adapt, or you get left behind, basically.
Yes, we will adapt, and then the banks would also have to be innovative if they want to keep their customers, because there's going to be improved competition for banks, for fintechs. There's going to be a whole lot of revolution in terms of innovation in that sector. So everyone would have to, for example, last week I wanted to collect my ATM, and I literally did it myself and picked it up myself from the machine. So that's innovation. I would most likely want to choose that bank rather than go to another bank where I have to probably wait some minutes on a long queue before accessing a customer service. So every one of them will have to be on their toes to make sure that the infrastructure is well in place. And then we'll probably see some improvement in that regard. But for now, not really so much options.
EA says, in my opinion, we don't need to have all that is required to start this electronic journey. Let us start now. We will get better as we go on. All right, and that is it for Business Express. Thank you so much, Samuel, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was Samuel Oyekanmi, macroeconomics analyst with Nairametrics. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. On Smooth 98.1, brought to you by Nairametrics.